You have the floor, my friend.
All right. So I guess starting it off is I have two teenage daughters. Um, and I just like me and my husband feel like we have lost control. Um, just lost control. Just the amount of disrespect that we receive. And let me tell you, we have tried everything. So yes, basically it is she likes to go out with her friends on weekends. That's great. Her friends don't drive yet. She does. So
Mm.
she's got the car, she's got the wheels.
Right.
And sometimes she's making poor choices more oftentimes than not. But we are constantly looking in her car, checking her car. So she, was out with a friend. She was going to come back, pick up her car, take her sister. They were going to go spend the night at a friend's house on Saturday. And my husband was like, I think it's a really good time to, maybe just check Ava's car and see what's happening. And so he opens the car and he instantly gets a whiff of alcohol and vomit.
Mm. That's fabulous. Okay,
That's
great.
lovely.
You know
So,
what's
I
going
mean,
on in the car.
vomit is telling me you are booze cruising in this car. So we're like, no. So what do? We call Ava and we're like, get home. You're not going out tonight. This is ridiculous. You need to come home. Her response, I'm not going to get in trouble for that. That wasn't me. That was my friends in my car. This isn't my thing. I should not be grounded for this. And in fact, I'm not coming home. Like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And you're basically going to deal with it.
Wow.
So, what do? We instantly take all the money out of her account. We drain her account thinking, okay, well, at least you don't have any money.
Right.
We turn off the phone. They're still able to text, but we turn off the phone. Sorry, I'm gonna throw this at my dog. Stop.
Okay.
Anyways,
Nugget's always a pain in the butt too.
I
Don't
know
worry about
these guys are a pain in the butt too. But it's like, what else do you do? I mean, I've had people be like, whoop their ass. Sorry.
it.
Um,
Yeah.
no, you can't do that. You cannot do that this day and age. Your kids know what their rights are. They're smarter than you think. In fact, they've used that against me. They've walked up to me and been like, "What are you gonna do? Hit me? You'll go to jail. Like, go
And
ahead."
how does that let me stop you right there. How does it make you feel when your kids who love you,
Yes.
and that know you love them, but are
Yeah.
just looking at you and saying, I'm not going to listen to you because I know one, you're not going to hit me. It's against the law to hit me. You'll get in trouble if you hit me. What tools do you think that you have then? And what else have you done?
I mean, besides obviously the tools of taking the car away, taking the phone away. But what do you do when none of that works? I mean, I drive them to and from school, regardless if she had the car or not, because I can't trust them to actually stay in the building. And I'm not asking much as a parent. I'm not asking for straight A's. I'm just asking you to go to school. Give some effort. Give, like, I don't care, a half a effort. Just show up.
Mhm.
But it's like, it's insane. It's just so, yeah, it's you get to this point where you're like, well, what do we do? Like, honestly, I've never been in this position. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. And the fact is that my two girls, they're less than 2 years apart, just under 2 years apart. And we did that thinking, oh, they're going to be friends. Guess what? It worked. They're friends. And they gang up on
Yeah.
us. Mainly me. My husband's working full time. He's busy. I'm here trying to keep everything under control. And I would say that I'm failing miserably. I feel that I'm failing miserably. I mean, are my kids honest with me about what they're doing? Yes. Sometimes where I'm like, dude, I don't want to hear this. This is too much information. But thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
But
But
what
then
do you tell them when they're so honest with you? I mean, are they being honest to shock you? Are they being honest to
I really don't know. I feel like part of the disrespect from my kids is that they're like, I could treat my mom however I'm going to treat her and she is going to unconditionally love me anyways.
Mm.
So I feel like they have this safety there. Like it doesn't matter, you
Mm.
know? And I feel like at that age, 16, almost 17, you have one thing on your mind and one thing only, and that's yourself. You
Mhm.
know, their brain has not developed enough to think about, oh, I'm hurting this person or I'm hurting this person. You know, Ava, her biggest thing is just basically like, I'm living my best life. Like
And
I'm a
that's what she
teenager.
told you, right? She has
Yeah,
no regrets.
yeah. She said, I am living my best life. I have no regrets. Like, what if I die tomorrow? And I, you know, I just didn't live my life. I'm at a
So
loss.
so when they are talking to you at the height of disrespect, what sort of things are they saying to you?
Oh, honestly, I mean, most of their disrespect, word wise, I mean, obviously, blatantly not coming home is just
It's total
unbelievable.
disrespect.
It's
Yeah.
total disrespect, and you know, just like, nope, I'm just going to carry on with my plans as if nothing happened. Screw you, you know, deal with it. Oh God, it's mainly through text messaging, which is why we turn the phones off. It's just they bully me.
Mhm.
You know, they call names, they name call, they basically tell me to f off. I mean, it's just blatant disrespect, and you know, it's you kind of question like, did I raise them wrong? Did I do wrong? Like, no, we did everything everybody else did. We did timeouts. You know, you sat in the naughty chair. I mean,
Right.
you're
And you're taking
grounded.
things away. I mean, yeah,
And
you're
I'm
grounding them,
taking
you're
things
taking things
away.
away.
It's like we took the car away, and the big thing with Ava, it's like she's a smart girl, and the big thing with her, it's just like she's just like, yeah, you know, well, you took my car away. Like, thanks for the break. Like, it's just kind of almost like, "Oh, you did me a favor."
Right. Like
Like,
she
now I
doesn't
don't have to drive
care.
my friends around. Like, just does not care.
Yeah.
Um,
What
and
is your fear? What is your fear of certain consequences? Because I can imagine, a lot of people probably are saying, spank them, right? There's a strong a group of people that still grew up in the age of spank them, smack them, not beat them necessarily, but yeah, but you started off this whole conversation saying we can't do that anymore. They know
we
they're right.
can't do that, and not to mention, how am I gonna spank a 17-year-old girl that towers over me? I'm
She
not a
does.
tall person, you know? I'm not a tall person. She's bigger than me. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, even my youngest is taller than me. So, I mean, really going beefing up with my kids, I mean, that's they're gonna fight back, you
Yeah.
know, at that point. There is no spanking. You know, there's none of that. That's not an option.
Would you
Uh,
ever consider kicking your kid out of the house?
I have literally, I mean, no, I, which is another thing. It's yes, I like get it. Tough parenting is called tough parenting for a reason because it's tough
Mhm.
because it's not easy on you as a parent. No, I can't. I think that's against the law. Actually, I don't think
Well,
I
if she was
can
18,
either.
not obviously you can't do it now. That'd be
Yeah, I
abandoning your
can't just
child.
be like, get out of the house, enjoy the snow outside. You know, good luck. You know, but
Tell me how you like it. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
tell me how you like that under the bridge cardboard box life, like, but, I mean, yeah, I don't know what other than taking cars away, freezing money when she's doing that, you know, taking phones away. I drive them to and from school. She's grounded for a month now.
Mhm.
Um, I think sometimes as a parent, when you're in that situation and it's constant, it's every day, like you don't ever feel like you're getting a break. Um, and I'm not saying that it's right, but like sometimes, you know, I mean, we have given in with punishments not lasting as long as they should, because frankly, sometimes you're grounding yourself as well. Uh, you know, it's like, yeah, great. Now I'm driving you everywhere. Now
Right.
I'm ushering you back and forth to work and to this person or to school and back and forth to work or whatever. You know, it's an inconvenience for me as well, which is totally understandable. I mean, that's life. That's
Yeah.
part of parenting. I guess I just didn't expect for it to be this hard.
Mm.
I just did not expect for it to be this hard. And
What are
that, yeah, I have a whole big backstory of what I deal with, which is a completely different thing, but we do have some mental health issues and with the kids or kid, one of them. And
yeah.
so that on top of it, trying to navigate and raise two kids completely different, punished separately, differently because of
Those
obviously
situations, yeah.
situations and issues. I really just honestly I feel like my hands are tied behind my back. Um, should I have called the cops and said, "Hey, my kids ran away," and put them out as runaways and have them get picked up by the cops? That's an option. It's an option, and I know it's an option. It's not an option that I wanted to do. It's
Mhm.
not something that I didn't want to do that. I don't want to call the cops on my children.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a big
she
step to call the cops on your children.
What's up?
It's a big step to call the cops on your
Oh,
children.
absolutely, and not one that I'm ready or willing to take at this point. I don't know. I just teenaging. Oh God, it's just so hard.
Have you talked to any of are there any parents out in Idaho, that you look at, you're like, what do you do to keep your kid in check? Right? I mean, is there any support system for you out there from
I
other
mean, besides,
parents?
I obviously talked to my parents, my mom and my mother-in-law. Like both of my moms have been like a major support. Obviously, you and
But
um,
like anybody else going through it with you with
no.
these
So the
kids?
thing is like a lot of people I know right now. I mean, they have younger kids.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've heard the term of small kids, small problems, big kids, big problems.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's yeah. I mean, the thing is, and the thing I love my kids, and most of the time, I like them.
Mm.
I actually can have a conversation. We have a great time. We laugh. So it's like, how can you feel so close to somebody and then them just completely switch it on you and are just like, yeah, what you say doesn't matter. I think
Right.
that's what shocks me the most is just not taking responsibility at all, you
Yeah.
know? And yeah.
Have you ever shared with them how much it hurts? Like after the situation, not in the middle of it, not in the thick of it, but when
Oh
you
yeah.
guys are just getting along and being like, you really hurt me when you do X, Y, and
Yes,
Z.
absolutely. And they're
And what's
like,
the response?
"Oh, I'm so sorry and you know that we love you and da 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 da." But I was just living my best life.
I would die.
So,
I would
it's
die.
oh, it's yeah. But I'm just living my best life, mom, and
Yeah.
your reasoning is not reasonable enough for me to feel that I should be in trouble, so I'm just going to ignore you.
Have you ever thought about getting, and I know with your youngest, it's a different situation, but with Ava, like maybe going to some sort of counseling together as a
We
mom?
yeah,
Yeah.
we've done some family counseling. We've done that.
Mhm. And what do they say? Like, do they give the kids or you any trip, like things to say in the moment or
Yeah, no, there's nothing to say in the moment. I mean, basically, when the children or when they make up their mind that they're just going to disobey, I mean, they are fully committed. I mean,
they're
I
not
mean,
listening to you?
great commitment, by the on their part because yeah, it's she knows what's coming. She knows she's going to be in trouble. She knows that she's probably not going to see her friends for the next 3-4 weeks. But she's like, oh well, I'm going to make this one
Okay.
night worth it.
It's funny that you said that.
I'm going to just
My
go out.
dad, yeah, my dad used to tell me, he's like, if you're gonna get in trouble, get in trouble for something good, right? Like, don't
Mhm.
be grounded every month because you're 10 minutes late. If you're gonna be late, be late.
Yeah,
And it's a weird comment to make to a teenager, but it kind of seems like your oldest is living her life that way. Like, if I'm gonna get busted
she
anyway,
definitely took your dad's advice.
yeah, yeah,
Thanks, Joe.
yeah, yeah,
Good
exactly.
advice.
All right. Well, I mean, so to all of my viewers and my listeners, this is Jen's situation. I think many of us can remember what it's like. And Jen, we talk about it all the time. We remember what it was like to be 17 years old, 16, 17 years old. We understand it. But there has to be a point where you have to get the respect back. And how does Jenn do that without obviously breaking the law and beating the crap out of her kids? Because honestly, and I don't spank my children. I never have. I'm not that type of person. But I will say this: when I have conversations with you, what did I say? I'm like, smack her. I'm like, if she said that to me, I can't imagine being able to restrain myself. But again, I don't have a 16, 17-year-old kid. I
Yeah.
don't know what it's like to go through.
I honestly don't know what God is trying to teach me. Like, I feel like I'm like the most patient person in the world at this point. So it's like, can you cut me a break, buddy? Yeah, I don't know what to do. I mean, I've taken everything away. What more do I do? I can't afford to put my kids in boarding school. Otherwise, honestly, it's crossed my mind.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally crossed my mind.
Well, all right. I mean, there's Jenn's situation. I'm going to open it up to the comments. I'll share the comments with you. You watch the show regularly, so you'll be following along. What should Jenn do? And if any of you were her older daughter, what worked for you? What didn't work for you? Because the thing is, just like Jenn mentioned, these kids' brains are still developing. They're not thinking clearly. But at the same time, she needs help, because my worry, and we've talked about this, Jenn, is that it goes down a road and they end up in trouble because they're just not listening to you, and they're not listening to your husband, and something bad may happen. And we don't want that to happen. We don't want that to happen.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
All right. So let us know in the comments. We may revisit this. I was trying to get a child psychologist to join us as well, but maybe I'll get one in the future. But you've said you've gone to therapy with them. If you take everything away, what is next? And how should Jenn respond when her kids are so freaking disrespectful? I love you, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And we'll update it next. This is the Nikki Medora Show. Bye. All right. So there we have it.
Yeah.
So Kim, I gave you a heads up about the whole situation first.
Yeah.
Okay. I want your reaction to the story.
I expected to be really judgy against her.
Right.
I expected her to be wishy-washy, to be like, like the nice mom that wants to be more their friend than their parent. At the end of that interview, I wanted to grab her and hug her.
Yes. And that's what I wish
there
I could
before
do
the grace of God, all of us. I mean, because you don't know. I think you can lay the groundwork. I hope I have laid the groundwork to have my kids respect me and not even think of turning around and saying F you or no, I'm not coming home.
Right.
But even now, I'll see Julia, I ask her to do something or tell her not to, and that kid's going to do what she wants to do. Mm-hmm. There are consequences in this house, but she's only 13. Exactly. When you get to 17 years old, this kid's almost 18 and out of the house, right? Oh, Jenn, man, that's hard. And I feel you. And I feel this is so painful for you. I feel like, I thought boarding school was good. I think Outward Bound, that Outward Bound program, I think that was good. But one of the things that I was thinking before I saw it in the comments, I think Mo Direct was saying it, was counseling. And I know she said she tried it, but even Murphy was saying, yeah, I'm flying blind many days. We focus on connection before correction, which is hard, but amazing. My girls are under a lot of pressure. We see a therapist almost every Friday to maintain good bonds. Weekly therapy. When you have a situation this egregious. So here's what I would do.
Okay.
At having not ever been a parent of a 17-year-old kid.
Exactly.
Right? So take this with a grain of salt, Jenn. The car is sold. The car is not just taken away. The car is absolutely sold. If that means she doesn't have a job and because you're not driving her back and forth, then she loses her job and her source of income. So she's going to lose her job and she's going to face an immediate consequence from having her car taken away. Not just taken away, permanently sold. That's how bad the situation is. It's gone.
And to add to that, because she's her daughter's the only one with wheels, that also reduces the ability, their social life, because there's nobody to drive them around. So that could also reduce the instances of, disrespect and not coming home and those sorts of things.
The phone isn't just taken away. The phone is gone. Yeah. The phone is forever permanently gone. Now you've lost that privilege and right. And so when you get a car or transportation to be able to get a job and have money and work to buy your own phone, that's something. But until then, we will not be providing you a phone. We will be only providing you that which we are legally obligated to, which is 3 meals a day and trying to get you to school and maybe some warm clothes for the winter. Done.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, that's it. You've lost privileges. If you don't respect me, then you're not going to get the same respect returned to you. You're not going to get all the extras. And don't make it hard on yourself. I heard you say that it's sometimes a punishment for you, and that can be true when you take away their phone and then you can't call
your
them
life
when you
becomes
need to.
harder. Absolutely.
That's right. But don't let it become harder. Don't drive her everywhere. Don't do it.
Yeah.
That means
I
she
feel
can't.
like walk to school. Well, the fear is, and she had mentioned it, I tell them to walk to school and then they just don't go. They go somewhere else, which,
Then those are other consequences that she has to face.
You know?
She's at the point now at 17, a junior or senior in high school, I'm assuming, where she's going to have to face the consequences, and you can't protect her from consequences if she doesn't show up to school, or if she doesn't graduate and she has to end up getting her GED. This is the path she's chosen for herself. If you make it easy for her and help her avoid those consequences, then she's not going to learn from this experience. You can't be a complete a-hole and then not face all the consequences. It's a permanent taking away of everything.
Wow.
Everything. That's all I can think of. Really.
It's tough. I saw a lot of them, and this was interesting, and I want your take on this. Somebody was mentioning, kind of going to the school, embarrassing her in front of
Oh,
her,
I
kind of
love it.
reducing her social. On one hand, yes. On the other hand, that the only concern that I have is what response. I always believe in the consequence should match the crime of crime, right? Public humiliation, those sorts of things. I think, you really have to use a scalpel in making a decision of how you're going to really harm somebody, especially because let's just, for instance, say I show up at my kid's school to embarrass them. All the kids get it on their phone. And then I lead to this perpetual bullying when all I was really trying to do was this, and now I'm punishing her in a completely different way that may never end socially for her.
She's a senior in high school. It's a consequence. She'll deal with it.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if you can't afford boarding school,
right?
What about taking the kid out of the situation? You said you were close with both of your mom and your mother-in-law. She has to go to a brand new school in a brand new state or whatever, and she's now living with her grandparents for the last 6 months of high school.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, they all live in Idaho. They're all, and I saw somebody else questioning the kids have lived in Idaho most of their life. They lived in Southern California for a while. They were born in California, but they've lived in Idaho for quite some time. So it's not as if this is a new thing. The whole living her best life. Neiman had the best comment. She could live her best life out of my house. That's what come out of my mouth. Like, fine, there's the door. See how far the best life gets you. When you have no money, no job, no car, no phone, and I'm not going to provide it for you anymore. Now, I adore these girls. Jen's older daughter, she really is. I mean, she's just she's full of life. She is full of life. The whole best life thing. I adore her. I really do. But it breaks my heart to hear the stories that one of my oldest friends is telling me about how these girls who, on one hand, I know love their mother. Like, I know these girls love their mother, but like, you're treating her this way, and it's not a one-off. You know what I mean? I guess one thing if like, oh my God, my teenager's like on it today, but this is a consistent, what I consider, and I don't think it's too far to say this. And by the way, these girls are going to be watching this show, by the way. It's abuse. You're abusing your mother verbally and emotionally because it is a consistent behavior. And that's what's heartbreaking is I know the relationship Jenn has with her kids. And I know how hard she's worked on having a close relationship.
Yep.
But, it breaks my heart for her because what she's getting in return, I believe, is beyond the typical teenage kind of misbehavior. And it's going into the realm of, because of the cussing, because of the, the texts, because of the blatant straight up, I'm not listening to you and there's nothing you can do about it. And I'm literally saying those words to your face. That is abuse. And I
Do
don't
you
know how I would feel if my kid did that to me.
do you feel I know how I would feel. I would
I'd be heartbroken.
I would lose it. She'd be going to Michigan to live with her aunt and uncle. That'd be it. And she'd probably be happier. Um, but question is regarding Jen, do you feel like she has more of a friendship relationship with her kids, or did she lay consequences throughout their childhood if they did something wrong?
I
Was she a
mean,
strong parent?
now again, these are the stories that I don't live day in and day out with Jen, but I would
Mhm.
assume so, right? I mean, I think it was, and she had mentioned in our conversation, I did the same thing, the timeouts as they were growing
Mhm.
up. Um, somebody mentioned in the text though the influence of friends. Could it also be that yes, Jen and her husband were instilling consequences, although she admitted that sometimes they'd end early, which is a mistake, right? If you
Yeah.
say you're punished, that is definitely one thing I would say. Keep it to the
Yeah.
end, but
Because it means that you don't have follow through, and then they know
right,
that, and then
and they're
there's
gonna
wiggle room, and
exploit
then
it.
they're yeah,
But I
yeah.
mean, I would say that I the way I would describe Jen's parenting is what a lot of us do, right? You try to instill in them a moral code. You
Mhm.
try to keep the door open so that they trust you and tell you things. I mean, she's losing her mind with the amount of honesty that they give these kids. But I've asked her, I go, do you think that they're telling you to shock you? Do you think that that's also another form of disrespect? Is like, I went drinking. And I'm telling you this not because I'm necessarily close to you, because I'm obviously am, but I'm also telling you because I know there's not going to be a consequence for it. And it's so difficult, Kim. Because on one hand, you don't want them hiding anything from you, but kids, teenagers nowadays, just like when they went into her car, they knew exactly what they probably knew before they opened the damn door what they were going to find. Um, and taking away the car and the phone and freezing the bank accounts, that's definitely a yes. But what more? What more needs to happen before it clicks in these kids' minds that you can't do this to your mother?
No,
Uh,
it's really unacceptable.
so many great stories. Did her kids follow the rules set by the parents? I mean, obviously her kids are not following her rules at all. Lori doesn't agree also with the public humiliation. This is only satisfying to the humiliator for the instant, and it creates more problems. This is a huge cry for help and needs more than parents can do. I definitely think because she's at her wit's end, maybe going back to counseling, even though I know she's already tried it.
But not
Uh,
just like, we're gonna go try counseling for a month or 2 and then have it peter out. Like a consistent, we're going to counseling every week as a family, and we're gonna talk about how you're making me feel.
right.
I don't know, I feel like if the 17-year-old hears how heartbroken her mom is, how she's trying hard,
Yeah.
how hard she's making her parents' life, then maybe she'll take some steps to change, but maybe I'm too hopeful.
Yeah, Yowza says, "How's the relationship between mom and dad? Do the kids see mom not being respected elsewhere?" Nat and Jen have been together. They're together for years, almost as long as, well, not dating as long as James and I have, but yeah, they've been married a very long time. Uh, as far as I'm concerned, very happy marriage. I've never heard any different. So it's not that, as far as I can tell. I would look outward to her friends. How do her friends, Jen? I know you're listening. How do the friends treat their parents? Is this are they mimicking behavior they see in their friends' homes? Like, wow, so and so gets away with it. Maybe I can
Mhm.
get away with it. And maybe one or two times, and then you feel like you can continue doing it. Um,
I think it's a change of setting. Another family member.
Move back to California, Jen. Make me all
She's
happy.
no, she's out. She's living with another family. Maybe it's you.
Maybe
Maybe
it's
she's
Jen or me.
maybe you.
Me,
Maybe
me.
she's shipping her kid off to live with the last
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm gonna knock your
well,
kid into
the
shape.
the last 6 months of high school, because she doesn't have the same relationship with her mom that she
Ah,
has with you, right?
I'll,
So
I'll
if you
knock
want to
your
make
kid
sure
shape.
I mean, look at this point, you want to make sure your kid survives and
Mhm.
graduates from high
Right.
school. These are your 2 goals, right? So
Mhm.
how do you do that? Ship her off to California, serve your last 6-month sentence of high school with Nikki, and you don't have a lot of friends to get in trouble with, and it maybe you're not going to have a car, you're not going to have a phone, whatever. Maybe that's how you do it. Maybe you
Yeah.
have a friend or a family member in another area that you trust that can handle it, because
Yeah.
maybe it comes down to change of scenery. It's just not going to
Maybe
work.
it does. Maybe it does. All right, we're gonna read more comments. Did you have headlines? I know you've been doing my show and Mark's show.
Oh, if you want them, I have them, but you don't have to have them if you don't want them. How about
Well,
that?
it doesn't matter to me at all. Best life equals stupid. Sounds like an entitled brat that's been allowed to run out of control. She's on her way to juvenile justice system real soon. Mom should not blow cash on defending her legally. What's really interesting about Luisa's comment is, we've had that conversation before. Jenn and I, we grew up together. I've known her just as long as I've known my husband. Same group of friends. And we've seen friends, very close friends, get into this type of trouble that there's a possibility her older daughter could find herself in very, very quickly. I was sharing a story in high school. I think I've told you guys this. I was pretty much grounded my entire freshman year of high school. And it was, I was making the joke to her about my dad. It was always because I was 10 minutes late. But it didn't matter to my dad that it was just 10 minutes. I was grounded for a month. And I'm not kidding. I was grounded for a month. Now, if I was dating somebody or if I had friends and they wanted to come see me in jail, basically my house, they could come over. We couldn't leave and go anywhere. They could come over so I could have at least some sort of relief. But I could not go anywhere with my friends. I had to stay home. And it was a solid month. And then the minute I would not be grounded anymore, the following weekend I'd go out and I'd be like 10 minutes late. And he's like, you did not learn. Another month. And I tell that story all the time because I had friends, I had casual friends that I was hanging out with that weren't up to any good. And I know where they are now. Now, I'm not saying it's all because of that, but sometimes parental intervention can really change the course of a kid's life because there's an actual punishment and it's followed through all the way on, and it keeps them from moments that leave an impression on them, right?
Yeah.
That let them get into trouble, that teach them how to get away with things. And so I was saved by being so freaking stupid so often and getting my butt grounded month after month after month. And it was a month. There was none of this 2-week business. There was none of this 1-week business. My dad, month.
Yeah.
I think he just loved me and just always wanted my ass around. But
I will tell you that my parents are divorced.
Okay.
And I had a stint of time where I was angry about it. I was angry.
Yes.
It was really, really painful and hard. And my mom and I were not getting along. I was probably Julia's age, so 13, 14. And when I was a freshman in high school is when it really got bad. And we were fighting.
Yeah.
It was bad. And my dad moved back to California in the Santa Cruz area and said, all right, come live with me. And so I did. That's why I went to high school in the Santa Cruz area.
Right.
My relationship with him was different. It's no fault of hers, honestly. It's just a different relationship. And that being moved from one house to another made all the difference.
Wow.
So that's why I think maybe a change of location would be the best, because I think sometimes you just, no matter how much counseling goes on, you just have you're in a rut, and you have the way you treat each other, and you have the way you talk to each other when the doors are closed. And unless, you kind of get out of that and get into a place where it's done differently, then you can't circle back to it and, be respectful again. I think that might be the answer. The more I think about it.
Somebody was mentioning the military, or maybe even something like the Job Corps, right? Or the Peace Corps or something like that. I don't know the age requirements for stuff like that. When you're talking about a change of scenery, when you're talking about, look, you don't want to go to school. You don't think you're going to go to college. You have no aspirations to better yourself. You think that this is the best that you can do. Okay. Let's have you give a little bit more then and put you in something, look into the Job Corps. It could give them a skill. You do stuff for other people. I don't think, I'm pretty sure the Job Corps, I don't know what the age requirement is for Job Corps, but obviously once she turns 18, she should be eligible for anything. She may even be able to apply right now. It's an idea. I like, Kim, I like what you're saying about a change of scenery, kind of a removal from that group of friends. And I'm not just going to solely blame the group of friends. I'm sure she has some great friends.
Well, and a removal from the house too. The house where this is the norm. This is the way we're treating our parents, right? It's a removal from that whole situation. Say she does go live with you. Say she gets plopped in the Maduro household. Then
Right.
she sees how there's a different dynamic. This is how we talk to each other in this house. This
Mhm.
is our normal. You either fit
Right.
into our normal, or the next escalation in the process is going to be even worse for you, right?
Mm.
If you can't make it here for 6 months, then
Right.
maybe we go to court and emancipate you and you're on your own. But
That's what a lot of people have been saying, yeah.
I think a lot of people, though, are trying to write off this child, saying, oh, she's going to be a crappy adult, whatever. And I don't think that's true. I think a lot of people have had really rough, rebellious teen years, have looked back and, God, shaken
Oh,
their head and
yeah.
think, God, I mistreated my parents. I did, I wish if I could go back,
Absolutely.
I would
Yeah.
do it all differently. So I wouldn't write this girl off.
No.
I think there's hope for her. I
Oh,
just
no.
think she needs to
She's
sit.
an amazing young woman.
Yeah, she needs to have some consequences thrown in.
Yeah,
A little change of
absolutely.
scenery thrown in. She'll be all right.
NSTAR says the Job Corps provides training for individuals ages 16 to 24, but then right after Mo Direct says it's a cesspool of losers. I have no experience with the Job Corps. All I know is that it's a place where you can go and get a job and get training, and I always
Yeah.
imagined it in my mind as giving back to communities and things like that. Mo, do you have experience with the Job Corps? Or is that just your opinion? Um, yeah, my heart just breaks for her. And
Yeah.
and when you know the mom, when you know the kids, and you know
Mhm.
they're great people, and they're in this situation that is on one hand very common, but on the other hand, you worry because you've seen it go so many different ways, right? There's definitely a fork in the road that's coming up for her daughter. And her daughter's going to have to decide, are you going to live your best life, but it's going to be immature, it's going to be disrespectful, and at some point it's going to be alone because your parents are not going to deal with that crap, and you're
Mhm.
almost an adult so you can get your butt out? Or do you want to kind of change the course a bit? Yes, you're 17 or whatever, and you want to hang out with your friends and have fun, but there's also a point where you come home, you tell your parents where you are. If they say come home at a certain time, you do, because it's the trust. That's what I tell my kids, Kim. I go, look, you have my trust. Only you can lose it by the actions that you take. So, and then once you start eroding that trust, it is
Mhm.
much harder to get
Yeah,
back to the place where you were. And
that's
that's
right.
where I think Jen's at right now, is it's so hard to just get back to base level because
Mhm.
there's so much mistrust and disrespect. And I just feel so sorry for her. I really do. I
I would
really do.
tell Ava as well that you think this is living your best life. You
Yeah.
think partying and living it up and staying out as long as you want and doing what you want to do is living your best life. You know what is not living your best life? Fast forward 10 years. I know
Mm,
maybe you don't want to think about 10 years, right? It's all the now. We're living in the now. But fast forward 7, 10 years down the road. Do you think it's going to be living your best life with no teeth on the sidewalk in San Francisco, or in a cold place where you're homeless, you have no money, you have no education, or you're in a, crappy little apartment that's all dingy and gross and you can't afford food? You think your
mm,
parents are going to support you after all this? I
mm,
feel like living your best life might be planning for the future. And planning for
yeah.
your future means going to school, listening to your parents, and trying to be a better person instead of living a better life.
Yeah. And again, and we're not trying to roast her, anonymous. We're trying to give her some advice and kind of get through her head. And I'll
Hmm.
say this, at the same time that some teens are living their best life, right? And not going to school and not trying in those aspects, there are so many other kids that are. And those are the people that you'll be competing for in that future that you will meet, whether you're ready for it or not. There will come a time where you will be 27 and 37. And it
Yeah.
doesn't sound like the decisions that you're making right now are going to impact that future, but they do. Because right now, there are kids that aren't wasting it. Yeah, they're still having some fun. Yeah, they're still maybe going to a party here and there, but they're not missing school, and they're not messing up their grades, and they're still getting, keeping the trust of their parents, who will then in turn help them in their lives in other ways, because it's a lot easier to help your kid excel in, let's say, college or
Hmm.
getting their first career versus having to get them, off the ground because maybe they've been drinking for weeks on end or whatever. Fill in the blank. You don't want to start below everybody. You want to stay at least on the same level as your competition, moving very quickly towards your future. And I just hope that, this conversation gets through to her. I was made aware this morning because I put out the teaser for the show, Kim, that that Jen's daughter did see it. And so
Mhm.
she's well aware. She's totally aware that this conversation's happening. She was well aware
Yeah.
that we had the conversation yesterday, and
Yeah.
they know me. And I love her kids. I do. Um, they should treat their mother better.
Yeah.
They should treat their parents better. They do everything for them. And I think that that's such a typical thing for a parent to say to kids. But when you have kids of your own and you realize how much you really do for them,
Yeah.
to imagine the day they look at you and tell you to F off, what are you going to do, is heartbreaking. It's
Well,
absolutely heartbreaking.
and as I said, they're before the grace of God because
I
you and I
know.
both have 13-year-olds. So,
Yeah.
maybe we're super naive.
14 years old, Kim. Get it straight.
Sorry,
She just
14.
turned 14. How
Sorry.
could you?
That's right.
You got to get it
Uh,
straight. She's not
I would
13.
also, in addition to selling the car and the phone, all
Mhm.
social media gone.
Yeah, I know. Well, with the phone should come that, right? And then again, it's earn these things. If you want a car, then get a job. It'll keep you busy.
Right.
That's the other thing. And I don't know what activities Jen's daughters are in, but when you talk about how you keep kids out of trouble, oftentimes it's because you have them in things that take up time. Right. So sometimes I worry. We talk about all the time, kid. My kids are on the electronics too much, this, that, the other. And then I think about their day. And like, for instance, my daughter, she's in a play, she does tutoring, she's in cheerleading. My son, he's in parkour, he does things at school. He has, hobbies like chess and working out and Boy Scouts. So it's like, at least they're part of something that takes them. I'm not saying Jen's daughters aren't part of anything. I just don't know their extracurricular activities, but maybe add to them. Right? Find something they're really, really into and make it a net positive. Like, okay, you're not going to be doing this because you're grounded. But if you want to get out of this house, why don't you learn X, Y, and Z hobby? Why don't you do fill in the blank? Something that they're interested in, because then it develops them as a person. They're not just sitting there on their butt hating you because they can't go out or on their phone or whatever. And they're actually doing something to make themselves, a better person.
Yeah.
That's another idea.
Whatever it is that's done, it's going to be hard to do. Whether it's sending her somewhere else, whether it's taking all this stuff away and selling it, I even saw someone say, take the door off the bedroom too. No privacy. You lost that. That
happened to my husband
privilege.
when he was a kid. Yeah, he didn't have any doors. My husband had no doors on his bedroom for a while.
And then I do agree. You were asking her in the interview, is there any support for you? And I think Rosalie's got it. You got to get counseling for yourself, for your own sanity. You need that support. I wanted to reach through the screen and just grab her and hug her as a mom and go, oh my God, it's so clear that she cares. And it's so clear that she's doing the best she can do. I just, I think you got to take care of yourself now too.
And I love this feature because, again, I think that a lot of people can relate either because you're a parent or you were kind of that kid. But she was the one that reached out to me and said, maybe bring it up on your show. Maybe somebody has an answer. And that's why I brought her on. I wasn't, trying to exploit her pain or her situation. She genuinely is asking for help. She's desperate. Like, I feel like I've tried everything. I feel like we're instituting consequences. I feel like I'm having these conversations, and yet they may apologize one day and then half a second later, it's F you, mom, I'm going out. And the dad is involved, Liz. I will say that he is an involved dad. He also, though, works and travels for work sometimes. And so, sometimes she's alone. And I think she had mentioned during the interview, her mom and her mother-in-law are very close by. She needs to bring them in and be like, I can't just be 1 against 2 or even 1 against 1. It has to, trying to have this united front. It's tough. I'll keep you guys posted on it. She's, I know, going to get all of these comments. But yeah,
I hope she takes them with the love and with which they're intended.
Oh, absolutely.
That we're not trying to be like, you're a horrible mother. No, not at all.
No,
like, we could be right behind you, sister. So
absolutely. Yeah. And I told her that too. I was like, and I was like, we could record it or we could do it live. And I will say this, the community in the comments has been amazing. I don't think
Mhm.
any of you have been, saying anything that she either hasn't thought of or heard herself. But I think it's also just the commiseration of it all, like, because it can be so lonely when you're having a problem at home with your kids, whatever kind of
Yep.
problem. It can feel very isolating, and the truth of the matter is, at least I see from the comments, and I know she knows intellectually, she's not the first, nor will she be the last parent to go through something like this.
True.
But you have to do something in your situation, knowing you're not alone. Yeah, it might be a little bit of comfort, but you still got to do something about it. You have to
Mhm.
do something about it.
And I think
So-
you also have to pick your battles as well. So
oh
what
yeah, I think that's a
what
great
are
one.
the things that are unacceptable to you? What are the must do's? Must go to school, must treat me with respect,
Yeah.
must, finish homework. Whatever your must do's are,
Hmm.
you got to stick to it. And then the little things like, I don't know, are we past, if 10 minutes late past curfew is an issue, or what is it? Like what
Right.
what are the things that you can let go, and what are the things where you hold the line? Because that's also for your sanity. I'm not saying you should let things go. I'm just saying that, at some point you have to go, okay, here's what I can control. Here's the things
Exactly.
I can insist on. So,
Well, I thank everybody. I really do for the comments. There was an Amy. I'm going to get back to you. Amy, you know her in the comments. I don't know if she's still here right now. Yes, you are, Amy. There you are,
mhm.
Amy. I really hope Jen gets some answers. Rough situation for sure. Amy, I did get your email. Amy sent me a very long email based on a conversation we actually started on this show regarding her child. Um, Claiming, I'm going to use the word claiming, and it will make sense because of Amy telling the story, that she was transgender. And Amy did not know for an extended period of time, even though the school knew. Amy, I'll keep you updated on Jen's story. You let me know if you want to come on and tell yours. You don't have to. I know you shared some of it in the comments when we were having that conversation not too long ago. I'm going to write you back anyway, though, in the email. But there's just a lot we can learn from each other in segments like this, Kim.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I like doing it. I think that this. I am not a therapist, but I do know that talking to people in your community, in this type of community, can be so helpful. It just
Yeah.
really